Hello everyone, welcome to another Deck Musings. So, as we move through our Magic the Gathering timeline, we're here. So this period, Timespiral has just rotated, or come in should I say, not so much rotated in, but come into standard with the release of this. Notice that it also included the time shifted cards, which we'll have a look. I've deliberately chosen a deck where I'm trying to get the sort of broadest range of cards, or a deck. Well, that's the case. There's probably more than one thing I could have chosen. Yeah, we're going to look at the World Championships at this time. So, yeah, interesting pool of cards here. We've got 9th edition. You can see Kamigawa would have just dropped out. So yeah, I suppose yeah, it was a rotation, wasn't it? Because yeah, it's first set of the block. So yeah, so Kamigawa did rotate out. Timespiral with the time shifted cards came in, but we also had presents in addition to 9th edition. The Ravnica block, the whole of it. Yeah, and Cold Snap as well. So yeah, pretty interesting. Looking at this, I mean, I think I alluded to this before, but I imagine, I'm just looking to see when, yeah, I imagine this, when we get to it, could be super interesting with Cold Snap, the whole of the Timespiral block, a new core set and Lorwyn. Yeah. Anyway, don't want to jump too far ahead, do we? But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. See what's what. I'll include links to the article on Wikipedia for the 2006 World Championships, or the section there, if you're curious a little bit about the final standings and the course through the top 8, and obviously there was a national team competition, Pro Player of the Year, those sort of things. So yeah, a few things there you might be interested in. I'll include a link to the MTG Wiki article just in case there's any extra stuff. I don't think so much. I mean, there's a listing of the deck that we're going to look at in here. I don't know if these coverage links work anymore, to be honest with you. A lot of these older links, when they redesigned the Wizards website, well, several years ago now, everything broke. So yeah. Okay, so I'm going to use MTG Top 8 and back to this again. So you can see here again, I'll include a link to this. We've got the top 8 plus we've got all the day one undefeated decks as well in this list. So looks like there's a single Dragonstorm deck which we're going to be looking at, and then we've got some, what's that, blue-white Tron. So there's Urza's. Interesting as well. We've got, I think it's Teferi in the sideboard over here. Yeah. So Teferi's main decked in the blue-white Tron deck. And we've got Boros. And it was interesting because I've not gone through these systematically, but I'm wondering how many of these decks, you know, benefited from that inclusion of that particular time shifted card for this set, because there were shifted cards in each of the sets in this block, but they were shifted in different ways. So some were sort of backwardly time shifted, so they were cards from earlier in Magic's history, reprints, but in new borders, in a different card frame. Or well, we'll have a look. There was a tweak to the card frame, to be more precise, but you'll see what I'm getting at in a moment when we look at it. All of them had, you know, if you look at the different sets, the 3 sets, all of the shifted cards had a tweak to the card frame of some degree or not. Some quite dramatically, some not. Then there was the colour shifted stuff in the next set, and then there was, I suppose, the future shifted stuff, which had a really weird border that had never been seen before, and featured, you know, cards, types of cards which had never been seen before, potentially, you know. So yeah, so it will be interesting in this deck, because like we'll see the sort of the older cards, the past shifted, however you want to think about it. So a bit of control here, Gruul, more Boros, variations on Tron, more Boros, there's Urzov deck, Hypnotic Spectre. Okay, so let's actually look at the deck in question. So here we have our Dragonstorm deck. So let's see what's in it. 4 Lotus Blooms. So yeah, Suspend was a thing in this set, in the new set. So Suspend 3. So rather than play this card from your hand, pay 0 and remove it from the game with 3 time counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove a time counter. When you remove the last, play it without paying its mana cost. Tap, sacrifice Lotus Bloom, add 3 mana of any one colour to your mana pool. So you can sort of see what this is trying to be a variant of. You know, I suppose over the years they've played around with, you know, the sort of original generate 3 mana, and tried to sort of present that in a way that isn't quite so powerful as the original Black Lotus. So we've got 6 creatures in the deck, 2 hunted dragons. So you can see it's a pretty high casting cost. Let me just check I've got this on a, yeah, I do have it on a curve. So that's a 5-drop, it's a 6/6 with flying and haste, and it's one of the hunted cards. So these come into play with some sort of token, but those tokens are given or under the control of the target opponent. So when this comes into play, the opponent gets to put 3 2/2 white creature tokens with first strike into play under target opponent's control. We've also got 4 Bogardan Hellkites, so 6 and 2 red, so 8 to cast. It's a 5/5 with flash, so you can play this spell anytime you could play an instant, and flying. And when it comes into play, deals 5 damage, divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or players. So with so few creatures, obviously we're going to see non-creature spells in here. So we have 16 instants. We have 4 copies of Gigadrowse, single blue, replicate, single blue. So when you play this spell, copy it for each time you paid its replicate cost. You may you may choose new targets for the copies. Tap a target permanent. So you can see by the presence of the first 2 cards, what blue is giving us is control in here. So we can control the board state whilst we get in a position to do our Dragonstorm thing. So we've got 4 remands to help with that. 1 in the blue, counter target spell. If you do, return that spell card to its owner's hand. Draw a card. We've got 4 telling times. 1 in a blue. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put 1 of those cards into your hand. 1 on top of your library and 1 on the bottom of your library. So interesting way of like filtering the top of your deck. So you get one in the hand, one ready to draw, and then one on the bottom. There's also 4 Seething Songs in here, so it's 2 and a red, but you get 5 red back in there. That's instant speed. So here's our land base. So we've got 22 land in here, and you probably notice that we've got 4 copies each of both on colour, so blue-red shock lands and the pain lands as well. So we've seen these before. In terms of what's coming from the set that's just come in, so is it Future Sight? I've forgotten already. Let me just make sure I'm correct there. Timespiral, that's it. Sorry, Timespiral. Yep, Timespiral. Yeah, so from the Timespiral set, we've got 1 Calciform Pools. Tap, add colourless to your mana pool. 1 tap, put a storage counter on Calciform Pools, and then 1 remove X storage counters from Calciform Pools. Add X mana in any combination of white and or blue to your mana pool. So it's one of those storage lands. Then we've got the blue-black one as well, interestingly enough. Same thing really, but just for blue and black. 8 islands, 4 mountains, and then as I've said, 4 each of these sorts of dual lands. So this one will generate colourless mana if you don't want to be dealt damage for the benefit of having blue or red. And this one, when it comes into play, you just need to choose, do you want to pay 2 life, have it come into play untapped, but if you don't, then it comes into play tapped. So put you one behind, I suppose. 12 sorceries, 4 Rites of Flame, single red, add 2 red to your mana pool, then add red to your mana pool for each card named Rite of Flame in each graveyard. So that was a thing from Cold Snap where cards escalated. I'm trying to think of a good word for this. Basically, it got better. Certain cards that got better based on having copies of the card in your graveyard. 4 Sleight of Hands, single blue, sorcery. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the other on the bottom of your library. And the namesake card here. So we got 4 Dragonstorms. So it is 8 and a red. You get to search your library for a dragon card and put it into play, then shuffle your library. But it does have Storm on it. So when you play the spell, copy it for each spell played before this turn. And you can probably see up here with Replicate how, you know, we can help that out. We can synergize with Dragonstorm. And our sideboards, we've got more copies of, well, 1 more copy of Calciform Pools, 2 copies of Dreadship Reef. We've got 4 repeals. So with a repeal, it's an X spell, so X and a blue. Return target non-land permanent with converted mana cost X to its owner's hand. Draw a card. We've got 3 Ignorant Blisses. So it's 1 and a red. Remove all cards in your hand from the game face down. At the end of turn, return those cards to your hand, then draw a card. 3 Pyroclasms. So 1 and a red. Pyroclasm deals 2 damage to each creature. A Trickbind. It's 1 and a blue. Split second on it. So another thing from the new set. As long as the spell is on the stack, players can't play spells or activated abilities that aren't mana abilities. Counter target activated or triggered ability. If a permanent ability is countered this way, Activated abilities of that permanent cannot be played this turn. And then we have a single copy of Teferi, which I think I always call Tarifi. I always get it around the wrong way, but it's Teferi. Mage of Zhalfir, 2 and 3 blue for a 3/4 legendary creature, human wizard. It's got flash on it, so you can play the spell anytime you could play an instant. Creature cards that you own that aren't in play have flash. Each opponent can play spells only at any time he or she could play a sorcery. But so looking at this, and I didn't really go through the set symbols, but you may have spotted it. So, you know, there's a Ravnica block card here. New card, this was new as well. Then more stuff from Ravnica block. 9th edition, which was the core set at the time. More new stuff, I've got the new artwork here. 9th edition. More stuff from Ravnica. 9th, there's our Cold Snap card. So this is, you'll notice, that the border looks quite different because it's old border, but it's a giveaway, and that it's a time shifted card because you've got this purple symbol here, purple set symbol. Yeah, and there we go. You can see in the sideboard what sets those are coming from. So let's look through this in the usual way. Go down a few rabbit holes. I do particularly like the artwork in this set. So let's look at some of the non-basic lands. So Dreadship Reef has been reprinted a few times. Obviously in this deck we're using it for its blue mana here. You probably guessed because we saw the other one here. Yeah, it's part of a cycle, and you can see just by this set symbol that it was in fact these were in fact reprinted. And if you look at Calciform Pools, reprint was the Timespiral remastered set. But I suspect, as we saw with the Dreadship Reef, you can see that's cropped up a few times in Commander. Fungal Reaches, again, Commander. Molten Slag Heap, yeah. Several times in Commander. And then the Salt Crusted Step or Steep. Yep, Commander as well. But in its original form, there we go. It's the original cycle. What else might we want to take a look at? So these are all the things it inherits. I tend not to really look at these quite so much, but sometimes you get interesting things down here. So a quick look. Better than Majoring Network. It's obviously ramp, adds multiple ramp. We probably looked at storage lands before. Just check that out. Surprised that hasn't come up. So unless I've inadvertently purged the cache on this, which I try hard not to do. So yeah, you probably recognise these, maybe, if you've been around Magic long enough. Yeah, Fallen Empires. And I suppose, yeah, the original storage land would have been the Dark City of Shadows. So you've got the these ones here from Fallen Empires. Then these from Mercadian Masks. This one from Darksteel, which is the only one. So far, you know, except for the City of Shadows and Meridian's Core, these are all cycles. Here's our one. Then up to date, we had again this single one, not part of a cycle, Crucible of the Spirit Dragon. This one from Majoring. This one's Majoring Network, which we mentioned before, and then Throne of Makindi. So yeah, not something that is classified. Yeah, not a lot of these are classified as such on Scryfall. I'm wondering if I was to do, just as a cross-reference, if I was to do land, so type land, that mentions the word storage. Interesting there, so they must have a slightly different wording. So we only get 18. What do we lose? Yeah, we lost a couple of the non-cycles. So we lost Meridian's Core. Oh, okay. Oh. Did that get reworded? No. Did we lose the Crucible? The other one, didn't we? Yeah, Throne of Makindi. Oh, is it because I put... So that's... It just calls them charge counters. Okay, that's why then, yeah. So the wording's different. Yeah. So those two refers to them as charge counters as opposed to storage counters. Right, now that makes sense. And of course, if I was to put charge on here. Aha. So that's good to know. So they're called, yeah, okay, I wondered where the Vivids were. Right, so it's the wording again, okay. So it's charge counters with those as opposed to storage counters. Good. I'm glad we clarified that. Okay, steam vents. Yeah, we've looked at this quite a few times now over the past few episodes. It's come up a bit. So yeah, Cycle of the Shocklands, worse than Volcanic Island, obviously, and better than a Highland Lake. It's obviously better than a regular, just a tap land, because there is a condition where you don't have to tap it if you want to pay 2 life, but not as good as a Volcanic Island, which comes into play untapped and there's no requirement to pay any life. So yeah. Non-basic, basic. Oh yeah, again, yeah, always worth looking out for these because there's certain cards that leverage the mention of a basic land type. Yeah, again, another card we've looked at quite a bit. Also, and or cycle. Yeah, Painlands better than Caldera Lake. Oh yeah, these ones, we were talking about these in the previous week, weren't we? So these are these ones that like insult you twice. Not only do they come into the battlefield tapped, but when they do untap, if you want that coloured mana, yep, they're going to do 1 damage to you. So okay, moving on. Bogardan Hellkite. Yeah, it's been reprinted a few times, hasn't it? But it looks like mainly in precons. Did come up in that core set. And of course in Knights versus Dragons, different artwork. Okay, so it's a Mirror of an Angel of Salvation, right? Which has Flash and Convoke. So 5/5 for 6 and 2 white for the Angel. Okay. Evasion, first a Crimson Hellkite and Beast of Bogardan in the name. Burn any, and it's a virtual French vanilla. So you've got vanilla, French vanilla, and virtual French vanilla. So for virtual French vanilla, these creatures and vehicles are effectively just French vanilla after entering the battlefield. They may have an ETB or on-cast trigger. And a French vanilla is a vanilla creature with a keyworded ability on it, like flying. So, yeah, in this case, if this was for example, if this was a French vanilla version, it wouldn't have this. It would just have these, flash and flying, and if it was a vanilla creature, there'll be nothing in here, and it would just be a 5/5 for 6 and 2 red. I mean, so I'm just trying to think. There's a few rabbit holes I can go down here. Something I don't do very often, but seeing as it has a distinctive name, let's just have a look at the namesakeness, if that's a thing, of the card. Because I've messed up now my first printing, if indeed I did save it. So we've got Beasts of Bogardan, Hammer of Bogardan, Bogardan Phoenix, Anvil, Fire Fiend, Heart of. Here's our Hellkite, here's our Rager, got a Lancer and a Dragonheart. And then our Hunted Dragon. Been reprinted a couple of other times. It's on the list as well. Yep, so part of that cycle, which we did see in the previous week. Looks like they've been reprinted a few times. And they're, the original Ravnica cycle. Just out of curiosity, I don't know if the artwork's changed, but we'll see. Don't think so there. I think that's identical. Yep. Okay. So you have the cycle. Unique tokens, selective group hug, which there's 106 of those cards. Yeah, which is something we've looked at before. First thing with Sibilant Spirit, apparently, from Ice Age. So there you go, if you want to build your selective group hug deck, there's some of your candidates. What about donating tokens? Yeah, so yeah, this is something I reckon, you know, people will recognise. It's not something I've looked at, so again, something interesting. Yeah, so basically you've blown something up a lot of the time, and the controller of whatever you've blown up gets a token. So you see it with Afterlife. So that's probably the one that I remember well, there's Feldergriff as well, but yeah, this one. And I'm trying to remember what set it was. It reprinted, probably because of the Commander set more than anything. Yeah, I think that's why. So you can see we've got a haunted card here. Yeah, Forbidden Orchard as well. That's cropped up a few times. Genesis Chamber. Interesting. Of course, that depends on who owns the non-token creature that comes into play. Yeah, here we go. There's our cycle. Because we've got things like Pongify, Crib Swap, and yeah, Terrestodon, Beast Within. So yeah, again, some of these green cards. Oh yeah, Swan Song now. Oh, we're talking. Oh, the curses. Interesting. Pursued Whale. Nice artwork. Yeah, some cool stuff here. Something you like to play around with, you know. Cool. Okay. Dragonstorm. So yeah, as you can see, originally from Scourge, so reprinted in a time shifted slot for Timespiral. So I don't know how easy you can see here. So here's the original artwork. So yeah, not a lot different really. Look, just really the set symbol more than anything. I mean, it's a little bit different, but not much. It looks like the spacing on the characters might be slightly different. I'm trying to remember, is that referred to as kerning, maybe? Where they change the spacing between the actual letters? It looks like there's been a slight change in that maybe for some of this. Oh, from the Vault Dragons in Modern Masters. Yep, so the dreaded storm. Well, I suppose only dreaded if you're playing against it. What have we got? Non-creature tribal, tutor creature dragon, tutor the battlefield, tribal dragon. Yeah, so in terms of, you know, and I mean, at some point, I think, well, I don't know whether it is the case, but certainly, you know, I can't resist the allure of playing a dragon deck, or even just building a dragon toolkit, and so there's just so many, you know. Actually, I would say if anybody wanted to have a go at creating like a EDH toolkit for particular creature types, I think dragon's a good one to play around with because there's just so many of them, and yeah, you can have real fun. I'm trying to think how much now the precon would be. You remember there was the 5-colour dragon precon? I've actually got a copy of it. I bought a second copy actually to mess around with, but never really got around to doing the video. Yeah. But yeah, 5-colour dragons. There we go, 2017. So flying to search your library for a dragon permanent card and put it into your graveyard. If you do, Sign of the Dragon becomes a copy of that card until end of turn. So of course all we've got here is just anything that tutors a dragon. And so we're going to see here legendaries that tutor dragons. I keep forgetting about this actually. Time. But, you know, outside of that, I mean, I think you probably guess where I'm going with this. Yeah, I mean, you know, you've got the OG Elder Dragon Legends. Just buy them. Buy them all. Buy all the dragons. Oh, cool. Yeah, of course, Portal. Yeah, we looked at that last week, didn't we? And then these ones. I don't know with these up here. I mean, what I found was if you bought the Chronicles copies, they're pretty cheap. And they did end up in the... Were they all in the remastered set? No. That's a shame. I mean, are all of these? I'm just seeing if any of them are available Yeah, no, it's all hit and miss, isn't it? They've never been, doesn't look like they've ever been like reprinted in a set as a complete cycle in Black Border. Would I be right about that? Because the original one is Legends. They were reprinted as part of the Chronicles set. And, you know, Chronicles is a great way where they did to pick up sort of obscure legends. They didn't reprint them all, but yeah, certainly that's how I've sort of obtained certain things. But what was the original count? 350, so yeah, 350 legendary dragons. And then if you know, want to do like just a Wooburg general, so you just get access to all 5 colours. And again, if we go back down the colour pie, we do have a 4 colour. Maybe actually I should really do this. It's actually better when you're talking about Commander. Let's do ID. So ID 5. Oh, whoops. I didn't spot that, did I? It's better. Type. So that means the first one I did was wrong. Hang on. There we go. 103 cards. Well, that was a bit high. 103 cards of type legendary. That's more like it. So 9, 5 colour, 1 4 colour, 3 colour, 33 3 colour, 32 colour, and 31 monocolour. There we go. Moving on, Sleight of Hand. So, ooh, that's good. That's going to come up in this week's set musings here. Portal Second Age, I think we're up to. So it's been reprinted. Started out in Portal. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the other on the bottom of your library. Okay. Cantrip, Impulse, worse than Preordain, yep, and worse than Ancestral Recall, surprise, surprise. So Impulse, yeah, look at the top end cards and put, okay, 389 taggings, yeah, okay, it's a thing, not to be confused with Impulsive Draw. So with Impulse, look at the top end cards and put 1 plus of them on your hand. Not to be confused with the red pseudo card draw effect. Impulsive Draw, which is cards which let you cast a card for it this turn off the top of the library. Use it or lose it. Typically a red card advantage mechanic. Rite of Flame. Banded Modern. It's in the signature spell book. Apart from that and being on the list, it's only ever been in Cold Snap. Adds multiple mana. So yeah, cycle of the calling them Kindle spells. You can see they've been, or one of them's been reprinted. Scales with multiple. It's a ritual effect. Spells that add mana. It adds multiple mana, scales with multiple copies. And that started with Plague Rats. And now we have Kindle, funnily enough. So yeah, Kindle effect they're calling it. It's Relentless Rats. It's Rune Snag. So you can see the cycle in there, in amongst all of these. Oh yeah, these. So this is Future Sight. So this was the last set of the block, I think. Yeah, so there was a cycle of those legendary creatures, all monocolour. They all had grandeur. So you can see, look. Yep, Demigod of Revenge. Cool. Telling Time. So Commander, Modern Masters, 10th edition. Never been very expensive. It is in those guild kits. Similar to Anticipate. And similar to Moment of Truth. Impulse to Top. Okay. I think this is a thing we've looked at before. So let's have a look. Yeah, doesn't crop up very often, does it? Telling Time, Cream of the Crop, Mundo Ambush Leader. Didn't I pull that in a Dollarama repack, I think? Fertile Thicket. Okay. So we've got a bit of a land tutoring thing going on here. Good old Seething Song. Yep. It's cropped up a few times. It was in Mirrodin. I mean, if you go back... Yeah, there we go. Banned in Modern. I'm seeing a few cards here that are banned in Modern. Adds multiple mana. It's Ritual. Tybalt the Chaotic. And we have looked at ritual effects before, but you're probably gonna guess that, yeah. Namesake card. Dark Ritual. You can see here, it's like scaling effects on these. Interesting. And here we spoke about this when I, opened some packs, but things went a little weird, didn't they, on the colour of the mana symbols around, or at the time of like 8th edition, just for a period of time, around that sort of Mirrodin period. You got Pyretic Ritual. So Geosurge. So there's several here like Pyrotic Reef, Geoserve, where there's this sort of balance between how much it costs you to cast, what sort of colour of mana you're investing, and how much you're getting back in this. I'm thinking mainly about red here, but we can probably notice it in other cards as well, other colours. Gigadrowse, only ever in Guild Pact. Yep, copy cards, of which there are numerous. And the Curiosity. Is that something we haven't looked at before? Obviously not. That's a bit of an oversight. So yeah, Clone. That got reprinted a few times. Vesuvian Doppelganger. I'm trying to remember if I have a copy of that. If I do, it would probably be from... Yeah, I'm not sure actually. It wouldn't be from this period. Mihara, of course, and so on. Oh yeah, Body Double. Shapeshifter. Okay, are we going to see... What was my favourite one that I used to really like? Oh, that's it. Cryptoplasm. Oh yeah, and Phyrexian Metamorph, that was it. Oh, now I'm starting to recognise these. Right. Evil Twin. Wow. Use Deliverance. Huh. So yeah, some of these you can see probably some of these are totally cloning things, copying things. Others are just copying parts of other cards. Remand. Scantrip, Counterspell Bounce. Colour shifted version of Reprieve. So there's Reprieve. Is that pretty recent? Yep, so 13 counterspell bounces, and oh yeah, definitely been down here. Okay, Lotus Bloom. What is he going to say about this? Oh, it was part of a cycle. It's a mana egg, which we've definitely looked at that sort of thing before. Yep, so worse than Black Lotus, surprise, surprise. So with that, 0 to cast, sack it, add 3 mana of one colour to your mana pool. So both of these get sacked, it's just how you get there. Black Lotus obviously is instantaneous. This, you have to wait. What do we got? Yeah, it looks like these have all been reprinted as part of the Timespiral Remastered thing. So let's have a look. Okay, so it was Restore Balance, Ancestral Vision, Living End, Wheel of Fate, Hypergenesis and Lotus Bloom. So So this would be, what would it be? Yeah, Ancestral Recall. This would be, I'm assuming, was it Wheel of Fortune from way back? Yeah. Living End. I don't know what would be. So yeah, Living Death. That's Balance. Hypergenesis would be what? Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know off my top of the head what I like the closest non-suspend version of this would be. Oh, yeah. Eureka. There it was staring me in the face. Okay, Trickbind. Split Second. So what do we got? References Bind, which is a green card. Okay. Stifle, which is blue. Interdict, which is blue. And Part of a Cycle. Some of these, there was a couple that were reprinted or appeared in the this particular set, the remastered version. That one turned up in Commander Legends Word of Seizing. Counter spells with set mechanic, we definitely did that before. Prevent activation. I think we must have gone down. Yeah, that's we've cards that prevent activation of some description. I'm not sure when. Cursed Totem. And of course, all things like Damping Matrix and Stasis Cocoon, and yeah, Pissing Needle. Oh yeah, Grand Abolisher, Phyrexian Revoker. Remember that. Oh, and then these, yes. Yeah, the whole blue-white thing in Return to Ravnica block with the detain stuff. Pyroclasm, 2 damage to each creature. So we're starting to get into what? Sideboard territory now. Okay, Super Control Burn. Oversized. Okay, yes, so some of these were printed oversized cards. Cinderclasm, similar to. It's got Kicker on it. And Whip Flare. And yeah, quite a lot of Sweeper Burn in Magic. You can see I've looked at a whole load of different things over the course of these episodes, but just to put it on at the very least, put it on a historical timeline. You can see you've got things like volcanic eruption, pestilence, earthquake, hurricane, cyclone, inferno, there's pyroclasm, and so on. Oh yes, Savage Twister, of course. Yeah, there's always some cool green stuff which goes up against flyers often. But yeah, you can see it's quite a lot of red spells that either do it or do it in combination with something else, or tape to a red creature. Oh yeah, this strange thing. Right, Ignorant Bliss. Remove all cards in your hand from the thing face down at the end of the turn. Return those cards in your hand, then draw a card. I always find fascinating those cards, you know, they exile a load of stuff and then it comes back in again. Tibble the Chaotic. Delayed Cantrip. Okay. I'll draw a card next turn, fair enough. I'm not sure whether it was one of those things in Magic where the whole thing with the cantrips, didn't they originally sort of start out as that? The card draw was always something that went on at the beginning of next turn, and then as we get more up to date, it became a thing to just have it on the same turn, which is why we tend to see less of the delayed cantrip, as they called it, because I thought that was what the definition of a cantrip was originally, was it something you got on the next turn. Maybe I'm wrong. So there you go, they just suddenly stopped. So they got several ones in. I suppose that makes sense, Cold Snap being it's a hark back to the past. But yeah, interesting, they didn't do it. And then between Visions and Dissension, do it once, and then we get them in Cold Snap. And like I said, I'm assuming that's just purely due to the fact that there's a connection between Ice Age and Alliances, and then no more. And we go over to the more modern way of doing it, which is to have it happen when it comes into play. There's Repeal. So an X blue spell, been reprinted a few times. Pretty cheap to buy. There's a whole load of blue removal things because it's targeting a non-land permanent. But, it's scales off the converted mana cost, so whatever you're trying to bounce back to someone's hand, and you notice it can bounce it's not opponent, it's any non-land permanent. So you can bounce your own stuff and then recast it, but sadly not lands, so you can't do any restock on storage counter shenanigans. I mean, not necessarily at this point in Magic, but just generally where you get formats that allow you to play those sort of lands, which the counters get added when they enter the battlefield. And then Teferi, got it right this time. It's in From the Vaults, Legends, Iconic Masters, Timespiral Remastered. Doesn't look it's been banned or anything. It's a hate bear. There's a pretty wide definition of that now, I think. The definition is small creatures with a hate effect, a white staple. gives flash. And references City of Solitude. Each player may play spells and abilities only during his or her turn. So there's quite a bit going on here. You got flash. It's a 3, 4 for 5. But gives other cards that aren't in play already flash. And each opponent can play spells only any time he or she could play a sorcery. So yeah, great. You know, control spell. You know, interesting how it really messes with the board state. And of course with that flash on it, makes it even more interesting. In terms of just thinking about Teferi turning up on cards, 32. Teferi. Funny. Yep, so we get all of these. Teferi's Curse, Drake, Imp, Isle, Honor Guard around us. Same time. Realm, Puzzle Box, Veil, Care, Response, Moat. He's got a lot of stuff, hasn't he? Teferi's Stuff Deck. What colour combination would you have to play? So what? Blue, white if you want all his stuff. Is there any blue-white legendary Teferi? Oh, there's legendary planeswalkers, but not legendary creatures. Are any of these? I suppose you could come to some arrangement with your fellow members of your play group. As to maybe playing a planeswalker as a commander. So you'd have to pick a blue-white, yeah. Teferi and his stuff deck. Teferi's stuff. Yeah, because this is just, I mean, if you want to do mono blue Teferi's stuff, you could go with this, but to get the full stuff, because I'm assuming Teferi would want all of his stuff. $5, not too egregious. So what's the most expensive of Teferi's stuff? Let's have a look, including Teferi himself. Oh, Teferi's Protection. Hero of Dominaria. Puzzle box, actually. No surprise. But by this point, we got some copies that are getting below. Okay, have to keep an eye on this. I'm a band. Okay. So there we have it. Hopefully you enjoyed that. It was nice and relaxing for me. Hopefully not so relaxing it causes everybody to fall asleep, but yeah, obviously that's probably some reasons why people listen to these videos. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, it was an interesting deck there, I think. So I'm always curious about these, decks where suddenly, boom, everything gets plonked out. You can see here, like low on creatures, but that's where your Dragonstorm comes in and you storm. I don't know how much storm stuff there was for that particular thing. I'm trying to remember now. I know off the top of my head. I mean, I know. Obviously, I think it was TSP, the symbol from the set. I can't remember what the special, because didn't these have their own code for the time shifted ones? I think they did. But that might be an interesting bit of homework, is to find all the storm stuff that got reprinted as part of that subset, and see what other storm configurations might be viable. Okay, thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future episode.